Here we are, mid-2012 halftime report, and I had to come back to the same title in my last video. Why now is the best time ever to own equities. The story just keeps getting more and more compelling. Today's plot, we have 4 points to our story. Investors are looking for yield. Currently, the dividend yield of the S&P 500 is just over 2%. Meanwhile, the yield in a 10-year Treasury bond is 1.6. If you're looking for yield, very compelling to own equities. Secondly, the dividend payout of equities right now in the S&P 500 is only 24%, meaning of $1 of earnings or profits that a company makes, they're only paying out 24 cents. This is the lowest that it's ever been. They're pulling in and holding and retaining earnings. That's why you see in the S&P 500 there's over $2 trillion sitting in cash in corporate coffers right now. They're waiting to deploy their capital with the coming expansion. Very compelling reason for owning equities. Thirdly, which follows along with that storyline, right now the earnings yield, in other words the profit yield on the S&P 500 is 7.8%. Meanwhile, the yield on the 10-year Treasury bond is 1.6. That is a multiple of 5. It has never in the history of the markets ever been that high. The way to think about that is if you put in $1 in the S&P and $1 in a 10-year Treasury bond, 10 years later you get 5 times the earnings from being in the equities, and that assumes that the companies do not grow one bit in those 10 years. Last but not least, make sure you know where you put in your focus. Currently, we're getting a lot of negative news from the Eurozone. If you see here, in the Eurozone, the total population is about 333 million. The 4 struggling economies of Spain, Portugal, Greece, and Italy make up about 130 million. Meanwhile, we have 6 emerging economies: Brazil, China, India, Indonesia, Turkey, and the Philippines, with a combined population of 4 billion people. What does that mean to you as an investor? It means that for every one that's in the Eurozone that's forcing austerity right now, or facing austerity I should say, there's 12 that are in these emerging economies that don't have the same debt level, and they are hungry in a rising economy and a rising lifestyle. They're hungry for owning computers, cell phones, energy, cars, infrastructure, you name it. Huge swell of 4 billion people rising into the middle class, which has increased demand for the products and services that equities provide. I can't find a more compelling story for owning equities. Lastly, I'll leave you with 2 truths. Number 1, and the media plays on this, is that our long-term financial needs are diametrically opposed to our short-term emotional needs. Our emotional needs fly to what's the negative news and what should we be concerned about now. Secondly, I'll say it again, there's never been a time in the history of the markets there's been a better time to own equities. Remember, your financial survival is on the line. Know your investment strategy and invest wisely.